Well, back at it again.
Back in, do you remember those old, was it not Hopalong Cassidy? Was it Hopalong Cassidy? Back in the saddle again.
I know the song, but I don't know who
Back
sang
when a friend was a friend. Yeah, that's a hell of a saying, though, ain't it?
Sure.
Look at you.
Let me just spread out on your couch. Spread eagle like a yard
Hey,
sale.
you know, your foot was not socially distanced.
We are distanced on a couch, though.
Yes, we are.
We're in your cavernous. I guess the cavernous room will pick up. I always forget about that.
Hey, I got to throw this out at you, and I know you've got an agenda, and you know me, I'm squirrel.
That's an agenda?
Yeah, well, but you know I've always been. I mean, you started with me kind of, you know, as the guy running the board and getting yelled at a lot, and then the producer and getting yelled at even more.
Would you call on the phone? And you would like the
I
ideas?
dispute that, by the way.
I love. Well, no. Let's get everyone the background. Let's get everyone the background.
Yeah, you start as an intern first.
Yeah, I did. By the way, I told the story of Kurt Abbott screaming at me in the clubhouse today.
Did you?
Yeah. Do you even remember that?
No.
So I was an intern. I'll be real quick. I was an intern.
And for Rockies games, we would send you guys down to get us live interviews.
Well, because unfortunately, it's not changed much now, but in September, there wasn't really anything important going on, and so it was a time for, as an intern, when we actually used to let interns do things that helped you learn the career you were about to do, they would send you down, you would go into the clubhouse, and for the most part, the drill was, as an intern, we have these, you just stick, if anybody looks at the surrounding media around a player, you'll see the guy, well, I don't know, it's all Zoom call now, but back
in the old days.
Yeah, radio dudes with the arm stuck in, just getting the mic close to the face.
And we called that a media gangbang.
We did.
Because it was like 50 dudes using all the same sound, writing all the same articles from one interview, and it sounded like, I was with Nolan Arenado today.
Right.
You and your 50 closest friends.
That wasn't exclusive.
No,
right?
it was never exclusive.
But so anyway, I had to go down there, and it was a September game against the Diamondbacks, and I remember it because I'll tell you why. It ended up being good luck, but at the time, I don't know, it just was a bad day. I always tell my students, if you want to go into the media, when you get a media badge, there's nothing that says, "Hey, I'm learning. Be nice." It's a media badge. So I go into the clubhouse, and
but for all those guys learning, the dudes, especially the home team you're covering, will recognize you the more times you were there.
You're right, but this was early on.
Yeah.
This was maybe one of my first if not the first time I went by myself, okay? Tim Smile had taught me in a July game. This is 99. This is literally the Jim Leland year. John Elway's retired. Terrell Davis, we're dealing with real Broncos stuff as they try to defend a title, so I got sent to this, I think it was a day game. And this is back, the station was actually downtown. You could walk if you wanted to from Coors Field.
It was about literally 8 or 9 blocks.
Right. So, anyway, I go in there, and there's like 3 writers and me. There's no TV because nobody gives a crap about this team.
Kind of like now.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, I'm looking around. I'm going, oh, man, who am I going to talk to? Because now I realize I'm going to have to ask some questions because I can't just, you can't just, whatever, the fish that eat off the whale, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I see this guy, Kurt Abbott used to be their second baseman. And I'm like, all right, well, he at least drove in a run. Maybe I'll go try to talk to him. And he's sitting like, imagine your buddy after a night of drinking, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, about ready to puke in a bucket. That's how he looked, okay? Head down. And I walked up and I go, and I'm not feeling myself at all. Oh, Mr. Abbott, can I just talk to you about the game real quick? And he goes, why? Why the bleep would I bleep and want to talk to you about the bleep? I mean, it was one profanity, the F word being the key thing. I mean, he unleashed it on me. And I was like, oh, gosh. So I just kind of, because, now it's not even like I was sad by the guy. It's just you're kind of embarrassed because the whole clubhouse is looking at him screaming at you. And so I just turned around like George Costanza in Seinfeld when he walks out of Steinbrenner's office. Yeah. He cussed at me all the way till I got to the double doors and down the hall, man. But it worked out because I ended up going over to the Diamondback side because I'm freaking out. I'm like, I got to get some audio. Buck Showalter had just stuck his head out talking about the Monforts. I don't want to blame the Monforts. I think, although I thought it was Charlie. Somebody yelled something to Darren Holmes after he'd had a nice save. Remember, Holmes kind of wrapped up with the Diamondbacks?
Right.
And that led to apparently an intense encounter on the field as everybody was leaving for the day.
Well, it was different, and it is a great learning tool. The funny thing is, and I don't even know if I even know the story. Do you remember the wide receivers before the Broncos got super good? He'd come over from San Diego. I think he's still got
Anthony Miller still got the Bronco record for receiving touchdowns in a season at 18, I think. And Dave was still, before Dave started doing play-by-play, he's doing color. Now, first of all, Dave's an old guy now. He don't want anybody to tell him that, but, and I'm an old guy, but he's a little older than me. But at the time of Anthony Miller, Dave not quite as old, okay?
Yeah, and Dave wasn't quite as old. Hey. And listen, Dave keeps his shape by boxing, was a Gold Glove guys in high school. I mean, played in the era of the football when you picked up dudes and threw them on their helmets. Right, I mean, there
were no concussion protocols during Dave's day.
Yeah.
Dave's day, it was get on back out there, young buck.
And Dave probably hate that I'm telling this story. We got to get him on. I guarantee he'd come on. We got to get him on and have him tell it exactly. But they throw it down to him. And the job I did, and you did some of that too. But the color guy would go down early. We're getting the first interviews before the hordes of media. We would get exclusives. So Dave's ready to go, and the producer's going, you got 2 minutes. Hey, Anthony, we do the show. And I think Dave and I were actually doing the radio at the time together, and he'd been kind of critical, of, care, probably, something like that. And Anthony ignored him. 1 minute, Dave, 1 minute. We got Anthony Miller still? Hey, Anthony, you want to do this? Ignore him. Hey, Dave, 30 seconds coming down to you. And this is how Dave – now, we know Dave's temper.
So now Dave – is in the locker room ready to do the player
interview.
This is post game.
Yeah, post game. And in Dave's mind, and at the time especially, he's still a peer. He played 9 years in the NFL. He played in AFC Championship games. The guy was a player. He was a player. One of the greatest athletes. I think voted the greatest athletes of all time in Denver a few years ago. Dave was legit. Funny as Dave tells a story. He'll probably deny this. Dave, if you're listening, call me. Base it. I don't give a what you do, but you'll respect me and give me an answer. You want to do this interview or not? Let me know. Didn't say that. Finally goes 3, 2, 1. Dave, let's go. Dave with Anthony Miller. Well, I'm down here. Anthony Miller's here beside me. Anthony, you gonna answer a few questions? Yeah, Dave. What do you want? But hey, listen now. Anthony Miller wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but Dave, hey.
Look, Dave's a bigger dude now.
Dave was like 6'5", about 235 at that time, and still pretty good shape.
Dave's the first guy in the bar you're picking out to mess with. Let's just put it that way.
No, you ain't.
He's down the list.
Yeah. But that's, now guys won't. Now guys are bamboozled, and it's a lot different. It's too bad a little bit. I wonder now, when the sickness goes away and we're not worrying about social distancing and guys are back in locker rooms, I wonder how much that really is accepted again. I wonder if this Zoom stuff and the media stuff we're seeing now doesn't change. And that's going to be too bad because whether you understand if you're listening to this podcast or not, and we're going to – listen, I think the one thing you can say about you and I – and listen, there's times, we don't want to get fired either, right?
Right.
We want to protect our jobs too. But for the most part, and I mean this sincerely, and I'm trying to think of examples I wouldn't. We're going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you the truth. And guys nowadays seem like they want to be everybody's friend. There's a difference between being friendly with a guy and being a friend. A friend goes to dinner and goes to their house, checks out, and pukes in their bathroom downstairs on Super Bowl Sunday. Friendly is, hey, Andy, hi, Von Miller. They know your name. That's friendly. I wonder now if the PR staffs are going to completely control, as they are right now, the messages that are getting out.
Yeah, because what I worry about, and we'll there's a lot of places to go. I want to get back to what started all this with the phone call and all that, but you and I both are guys that have lived off. How can we tell you so many good stories? And how can we tell you the truth on the radio? I'm not always going to tell you who told me something, but it came out of the locker room and we were chatting. I can tell you right now, I know you got about 10 guys. One of the guys I bring up that's most well-known at the moment, anytime I hit up Chris Harris on Twitter, Chris Harris is sending me a message back. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, I'd asked Chris, who were they talking to from the Bears? That was Champ Kelly. I said, hey, you feel like coming on and talking about Champ Kelly? He goes, no, fam. Still not used to that. No, fam, I'm going to stay out of that. You know what I mean?
That's smart.
He goes, but I hope everything's good. You know, but how did that start? You and I were in the locker room, hanging out,
and he saw
doing
your
the
face
pregame
every
interview.
day. Yep.
We did it every week. There was one time, apparently, Aqib Talib mistook me for, I'm sorry, Mark Haas, but I got to name the names. Like, Aqib came up, and Chris and I were walking to go just sit down and do the show, and Aqib's kind of mean-mugging me, and I'm like, what is the deal? What's going on? At this point, I'm doing the radio show. I showed up long enough to hear a couple things from the coaches to take to the radio, and I do Chris, and I got to get out of there. I wasn't in the gang bangs or whatever and asking the questions, so I'm like, I know I haven't done anything to Aqib, and he's playing well at this time, so there's no reason why I'd be talking bad about him on the radio.
Right.
And it turns out Chris at one point tells Aqib, hey, man, this ain't the dude. Lay off him.
This ain't that dude.
Yeah, you got the wrong white guy. You know what I mean? But it was because I asked Chris later. He goes, no, he thinks you're someone else. And then he pointed to Mark Haas, and I guess Mark had upset him. But
it makes me think of one of the stories, and this guy will go down as one of my dear friends. He called right now and said, hey, Scott, can you come to Chicago? I need your help. I would go there. That's how I feel about this guy. Mark Aguirre, who was one of the all-time great college players, had a great pro career. I could tell you a funny story. I'll tell you off air. I can't really tell it right now, but I'll tell you a funny Mark Aguirre, Dick Motta story someday. But we're in a game, and I was good friends with one of the beat writers for the Detroit Pistons. And we would always go back and forth with each other before the games and bust each other's balls and so on and so forth. And so he takes a shot at me in the paper, but it was one of our jokes. And so I thought it was just kind of funny because I knew okay, all right, well, I got you now. Well, Mark Aguirre took that personal. And we're on a bus, and I don't know if he brought the paper with him or how it was. We're on a bus. He goes, hey, I don't know if you read, and I can't remember the guy's name, so-and-so's column today, taking a shot at Scotty. F this guy. F him. I say none of us talk to him the rest of the year. F him. Now, this guy has been on SportsCenter a bunch. It's not Mitch Albom, by the way, and Mitch and I are good friends, but this guy's done a lot of SportsCenter hits and a lot of, I think he might work for The Athletic now, worked for the Detroit Free Press at the time. And he goes, F him. And I went, dude, I'm like number 11 on the team, maybe 10 or 9 on a good day, right? I thought I was better than David Greenwood, so I'll put myself above him. But here's a guy who was a starter, gave up his starting role to Rodman to come off the bench, so he's an integral part of the championship teams, sticking up for me. That's a lesson for when you want to win championships, and I know that Super Bowl 50 team talks about it also. It's about that chemistry in that locker room. You and I saw in Super Bowl 37 and 38, 32 and 33.
Yeah,
32 and 33. You saw it in Super Bowl 50. Got to have the talent, but you got to have chemistry. If that ain't a fam, as Chris Harris called you, you ain't going to win. And man, to this day, it was so pronounced in my life that here is a kind of a star guy, college Hall of Famer, great pro career, sticking up for me. I mean, wow, So that's always, and that to me for Harris, when you told that story, Harris sticking up for you with Talib. Well, I mean, doesn't that mean something? To me, it means something.
Well, it means I don't think I've ever even told you this, or welcome to the podcast. People have told me they like our rambling, so we'll just roll with it. You know who was always hurt they never got to say goodbye to you? And I don't even know if I told you this how it went down, because he's a good friend of both of ours, guy we care a lot about. Jeb Putzier was playing, with the Broncos, the old tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember I had set him up. We had set up all these. We did our Say Goodbye to Scotty show. It's really the only goodbye show. I cherish that show. It's the only time we really got a chance to say goodbye to something in my career. Because normally, you know how it is. Like, I remember Tyler.
Hey, where'd Tyler go?
People are always, you got to remember, I left first, and I told Tyler midweek. So the week, I guess I'll just dive into it. The week I got fired, I get an email, and I'm the only one on it. And then the head guy wants to meet with me. Well, not the head guy, but, the one who put himself on the air now. And I go to Tyler, and I go, look, dude, my gut tells me this is bad. I said, I'm the only one. Why am I the only one meeting with him? He goes, I got an email. We're all meeting later in the day. I go, who else is on it? He named about 5 people. I go, okay, I'm gone. Then he's telling you guys. No. And so for like 3 or 4 days, man, Tyler starts stressing. So then Tyler starts calling him. And Tyler's like, are you firing Andy? You better not be firing Andy. I'm not going to be happy if you're firing Andy. I don't think I'm going to keep doing this job. You fire Andy. So it went on.
He left soon after, though.
To the point, well, yeah. But it got to the point where the guy called me in and did it a day early because I called him the day I got the email. I go, are you firing me? Probably wasn't the best move, but I figured at this point, what have I got to lose? It's a single email. Because I was like, you better just tell me, man. This is like getting the talk when things have been good in a relationship. But, you form those bonds. So my point to that was we never got to do a goodbye show. So we got to do a goodbye show to you. I lined up Jeb. He was supposed to call in, and I remember something happened where I was like, dude, we're running out of time to take calls. And then John Lynch called in to say goodbye to you. And that was like I'd already told John we weren't going to have time for him. Jeb heard John. He was so mad he didn't get to say goodbye to you, and John did.
Wow, that's cool. I
didn't get invited to his wedding. He was so mad at me.
Something, I didn't even know that, man. I didn't
want to tell you because I didn't want you to feel bad.
Jeb's a great dude, and John and I had a great relationship. We did, gosh, at least 2 or 3 years of the 4 years he was here. I was doing the John Lynch show, so every Friday I would sit down with him. It's really cool looking back at my memories, and it's kind of appropriate, I guess, now because it is Super Bowl week. The Denver Broncos obviously won 5 games. I'll just let that sit there for a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you and I are involved with some classic teams, some classic players, Ring of Famers, and being able to do what I did, and Dave would get the first interview with the coach, and then guess what? It was John Elway and I for 2 or 3 years before he retired. Just John and I, after every game, John and I were right there. Got to do shows on the pregame. Had a postgame show. Mark Schlereth was a guest. And it's a funny thing. We didn't get into it last week. I hope you listened to last week's podcast.
If not, go back and do it.
Schlereth, I think it might have been his last year in the league, was doing a postgame hit every game and got paid, right? And there was times he would go, come over here. he would make me go around corners and stuff in locker rooms to do a little interview with him. But, John Lynch and Rod Smith, he still busts my balls every time he's on the show. And Elway and Shannon Sharp, he invited me to his Hall of Fame induction. And it was really cool, but it was a different time, but it really is. It's football, and it's relationships. And so anyway, anybody wants to get in there, you don't have to be friends with guys, but be friendly. Let guys see your face when you go into the locker room every day. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if it's a couple things. Learn about their lives. Hey, congratulations on your birthday. Happy birthday, man. Hey, thanks, dude. They know they like dudes like that. And then talk to them.
Dude, it's we may have to get on because you'd enjoy talking to him is Nick Hardwick, the old Chargers center.
I had him on a radio show after you gave us his number.
Well,
yeah.
Dude,
Bourbon guy too, right?
Yeah, Nick's a good dude. Nick's such a good dude, man. And he's a Charger. I didn't think I'd ever say that, but yeah, there you go. Well, but I mean, you know how it is. Like Bertrand Berry. Every time I see Burt Berry, still man comes up, gives me a hug. I don't know if you ever did this. 2016, and I know you remember the game. Every Bronco fan does. Paxton Lynch and Blake Bortles treated us to one of the worst football games ever in Jacksonville, and so that was 2016. We get done, and I got a little time, and so I was like, all right, bus ain't leaving. I ran over to the Jacksonville locker room, and I was like, hey, man, is Malik Jackson here? I got to say to Malik. I see Malik across the Andy, you get the hell over here. What the? I mean, and like gave me one of those bear hugs where you're like, bro, I'm not a pro athlete. Quit throwing me around like a rag doll. I'm not one of your boys. You could give the old bear hug. But, that's the stuff you cherish. Because, you were talking like Malik and Danny. You know who was always great to me? Two guys that were, so many guys are great to you. Wesley Woodyard came and said hello to me at the Super Bowl. Demarius Thomas was always so good to me. And I know you don't, you got your feelings about him. I will always stand up for my guy. There was one day I remember in training camp, he was there on a Saturday by myself. Demarius goes on, and he's running past me, and I yell, DT, please, can you come out for a minute? And I thought he was gone. Came right back around the corner, sat down, brushed off all other media that day, and just, it's just that little, Decker's that way.
Yeah.
You just develop some special relationships with guys, and they're not, what I talked about? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to dominate this, but I said it today. The guy I will always feel so awful for that this town hates is Raheem Moore. Because you know what? I had to go on that. You talk about the bad interviews, and we kind of got on this towards the end of the show because Nate was like, what's the worst post-game experience you've had? I was like, clearly, Baltimore. Dude, they were supposed to go to the Super Bowl, and you know how it is. I don't even know what to ask you. I haven't even processed myself that there's no football next week. In my mind, we were playing football next week. And hell of a season. They don't want to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? And I go in there, and Raheem Moore talks to me, doesn't dodge a question, tears in his eyes, because he knows what just happened to him, and stood there and took on every question from the media.
So we do this on a radio show. Most despised sports figure in Colorado right now, Jeff Bridich or Raheem Moore.
Dude, I'm telling you. I would still go Bridich, but I love the person that was Raheem. Raheem was a different experience for me, Scotty. I don't know if you ever had this. Like one day, he came up to me as a rookie. He goes, "Hey man, I hear you've been watching football and guys know you." He had the preseason game where he got popped for lowering his helmet and hitting the guy in the head.
Yep.
He goes, "Andy, what am I supposed to do different? You're a media guy. You tell me what am I?" And I'm like, "Dude, what are you asking me for? Hell, that looked like a good hit. I don't know what to tell you."
Yep. Or right on the sideline. It was right on the sideline. And he dislodged the ball. It was like bang bang, but the ball was there. It wasn't like he hit him and he didn't have the ball.
Raheem was a gregarious,
and guess what?
Fun dude.
How about if that call wasn't made? Does he play that last play different in Baltimore game?
Right, probably. Well, and look, he misjudged the ball. I always tell people, and again, I really love the kid that he was, so I get a little, leave my dude alone. But
what if?
How long did Elvis Dumervil chase Joe Flacco?
Right.
Seriously.
But what if?
And why didn't they run? Do you remember them? I see you get so fired up. They ran 3 times trying to get or 2 times trying to get Ronnie Hillman to pick up the damn half yard they needed to get the first down, so Baltimore never got the damn ball back in the first place.
Right.
The little-ass Ronnie Hillman. What are you doing? I realize McGahee's hurt, and the other kid, that Jacob Hester, dude, hand it to a big fat somebody and let him fall over for the half yard.
I think you still have a fullback at that time, didn't you?
No, you didn't have nothing. This is John fucking getting all fired up. But I just feel so bad that kid's been vilified because he ain't Jeff Bridich who's speaking to me in the "you don't even deserve to breathe my air" tone of voice that we hear out of him.
Guys that are riding things don't have a clue what this job entails. Which I believe a quarterback in Colorado said nearly the same thing about week 7.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there,
dude. Yeah.
But seriously, go back to his rookie year and that play that gets him penalized and fined.
Yep.
If he plays the ball, even if he gets there early and gets past interference, guess what? Denver wins the game.
Yep. Anything. He thought he had a pick, man.
But does he change? Did that one call? You talk about when certain domino falls in your life.
Butterfly effect, right?
It was. I'm going to bring that up tomorrow. That's a great. Gosh, Scott, you're brilliant.
So anyway, look, I'll just tell you, if you ever see that kid, please don't heckle him. Please, he's a good dude. He is a good kid. He'd have been your kind of guy. I'll just put it to you that way. And again, like you talk about the Rod Smith, man, you know how many times I stood on the sideline and got football educated by Rod Smith?
Oh, I know.
Just walking with me. And you know how it is. It's fun. Like, I'd love to watch a basketball game with you. I mean, I kind of do on TV, but I'd like the unfiltered, You guys that have been there can just see what's going to happen before. Like Rod Smith's like, wrong coverage. Dude, Gary Barnett one time, what were the Buffs were, maybe it was Utah, but Gary all of a sudden, it's not the form, but Mark Johnson doesn't care. He just got out of the way. Gary's like, we don't have the tight end covered. We don't have the tight end covered. We got a problem, Mark. We got a problem. They got to change the defense. Touchdown tight end. Dude, pre-snap.
Right.
And he's already, you can just feel,
I love that.
Yeah. You're screwed.
And again, to go back to last week's episode with Mark Schlereth, I mean, he gets real technical there for about a 10-minute period. I mean, you and I were like,
what?
Yeah, we look like Jack Nicholson and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest after the electronics to the head.
Real quick, you and I, how many times did we just give him the yeah,
and we were like, we have no idea.
Sure.
And we have no idea what you
Jumbo
just said.
YT? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, XY, KP, okay. But it's amazing, those guys in their, the old stereotype of just dumb jock, dumb football player. If you've been and know enough about this level, that ain't true. And
I don't care what sport you're playing.
And listen, are there dummies that play? Yeah, there's dummies that play in every sport that have been gifted by God, with some unbelievable athleticism, whatever. But guess what? You know what they usually don't do? They don't usually last real long.
Well,
I mean, first of all, how smart is Steve Atwater?
Oh,
brilliant.
Steve you talked about it, breaking
brilliant.
It down on the sideline.
Same thing. Brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Rod Smith, how brilliant is he? Shannon Sharp, for as crazy and mouthy as he is, how brilliant is he?
Hey, you know what else?
Mark Schlereth, what you heard last week, how brilliant is he?
He's got a lot of bravado, and I think sometimes it covers up. Another guy I learned a ton from was Ray Crockett. The 2 years he was doing Orange and Blue. Ray, I asked Ray at one point, you did the 96 season, right? Did you come in 97?
I was doing
I
was doing a radio show, obviously, in '96. Right. We always had the guys. We were always at training camp. That's when I started spending the night, 95 and 96, because it was up in Greeley, remember? And I would always pick once or twice during training camp where I would stay at the Greeley dorms, stay up there and catch the morning practice, evening practice show, morning practice, evening practice, and head home. I get all them guys, man. Ray called me during the beginning of this. I don't think I returned his call. That's my bad. Ray, if you're listening, I apologize. We still stay in contact. So
Ray told me, I asked Ray one time, if you win the night, if you do what we think you could have done, and those guys are confident they'd have beat Green Bay because not much changed, right? Now, you don't have Howard Griffith, which I think was huge. But I've always asked Ray.
That was huge.
If you win that Super Bowl, if you don't get upset by Jacksonville, is it 3 in a row? And even Ray, because I would tell you this, people tend to forget, I think I'll jog your memory and I think you remember, after they lost to Jacksonville, Mike Shanahan became hell-bent on signing. He went and he got Neil Smith. He went and he got Howard Griffith. He went and he got Darian Gordon. He added cats to that team that if you win a Super Bowl, maybe you don't feel like you have to spend them.
Right. No, you probably don't.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah. But that's when you look at the Super Bowl, and apropos, we're talking about this, a few days before the Super Bowl 55. Excuse me. The big game.
The big game.
Is that not the dumbest thing you've ever heard?
Same thing with March Madness. Just shut up.
Shut up. We know what it is.
We're promoting your product.
Yeah, the big tournament. Shut up. God, I hate you guys. Anyway, but it's appropriate that we're talking about this stuff because you think about this, 96, Denver could have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 47, Denver could have won a Super Bowl. I mean, Peyton Manning should have, Raheem's play, whatever you want to do, run the ball, pick a first down up. And I was told, you've been told this too now, by the end of that game, and even when it went to overtime, they didn't want to go. Peyton couldn't feel his hand, his whole arm. Because remember, that was his first year back from the neck thing, and it got down to like 15 degrees in the game.
It was worse. It was 9.
Well, and wind chill was even lower. That I was told he had zero feeling in his hand.
That's why he went to the glove.
Yeah, and I mean, that is what that is. But I mean, one play here, one first down here. Do they win that Super Bowl? Do they get back at 48? Do they change their take in 48? Does it lead to 50? Because 50 seemed a little bit like Super Bowl 32 in the sense that let's go get Marcus or DeMarcus Ware. Let's go get.
Well, remember, and this speaks to your chemistry thing. They signed DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, and T.J. Ward in 14, the year they lost to the Colts. But I think it took a year for them to come together. Remember, Jack Del Rio wasn't playing the defense the way Wade did. Those guys hated the Del Rio defense.
Yeah, hated it.
They were begging him to let them blitz a little, and he wouldn't do it. But, I mean, again, to your point.
I just watched a little bit on that Super Bowl 50. Yeah, how good that defense was.
Dude, I think I've told you before, but I'll say it again. Where I knew they were special, and I don't know, I'd be curious to know if you had any moments that stressed you out about them blowing what this team was. When we were in Cleveland, middle of that year.
Hold on, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City.
But I'm just telling you, in Cleveland, I've asked you before, Peyton Manning threw the interception in overtime on our half of the field to Barkevious Mingo, who was just standing his ass right there. Like, it was one of the worst. Peyton was so hell-bent to throw to Emmanuel Sanders because Schlereth showed me the tape. We went back and we looked, and I was like, Mark, you got to show this to me. Because I don't understand what he saw. I was like, was Barkevious ducking down? Because for those who don't remember, that was that big cat out of LSU. He was like a 6'5" linebacker, man. That dude wasn't. It's hard to miss Barkevious Mingo.
Right.
He just literally stood there. Mark showed me the end zone copy of the tape. He just stood there the whole time. Peyton threw it right to him like you couldn't even see him. So they gave it to him on the 45. All they needed was one first down, kick a field goal, and the win streak. Dude, the defense immediately used
sacked and went back, or did
I've never seen that.
In fact, didn't they sack him twice?
Yes,
they sacked him
twice.
They
literally pushed him 20 yards.
Yeah,
and they had to put from like their 35.
Yeah. I remember that.
It was insane.
And the funny thing is, and Ryan Harris, who I did my radio show with, has even admitted this. That game, Wesley Woodyard had the tip pass to Johnson to the Megatron. Near late when they were driving.
Yes.
They also had
Detroit.
a pick in that game. Maybe that was a deflection pick that he had. But they come back and win that game, Cleveland game, Kansas City game. I know there's a couple other ones in there. They lose just one of those games. Then all of a sudden, they're in New England. And I asked Ryan, I said, would you guys have beaten New England to go to the Super Bowl in New England? He said no.
Ryan will probably tell you. I'm not afraid to say it because I bet you he'd tell you. He may have even said it on the air. He said what was amazing about that year was guys were having open debates in the locker room like a sports talk show as to whether it should be Peyton or Brock. They really didn't know.
Well, and here's the funny thing I always say, because I was always a Peyton apologist, and I am a monster fan of his.
I'm with you.
Even in those tough games, those tight games like that where he struggled. Wasn't it funny? He always made plays, though, when he needed to. Because if you go back to even that Cleveland game, when they got the ball back, Peyton made a couple plays.
You know what I'd say about that whole offense, but Peyton in particular, which I think was underrated, and this is what I worried. I worried about Peyton leaving and us undervaluing it because we watched John Elway leave and you losing the intangibles and not having really respect for what you had. I always said about that offense, it wasn't good, but it was clutch. When they needed a play, they made a play. Go back to Kansas City, man. If you go back to the touchdown to Kansas City that he throws to Emmanuel Sanders, there's not an inch of room for error in the back of that end zone when Emmanuel makes that catch. There was another play in Detroit. You're talking about Detroit. Emmanuel, I got a picture of it. Emmanuel goes up and literally, like a basketball player, takes the football away from a DB, taps his feet down in bounds to keep going. Like, it was hard. But, dude, and even Brock had his moments, man. Remember when Brock threw a P in the Cincinnati game to Owen Daniels to get him in field goal position to win that sucker?
Was that the same year or maybe a different year? I thought it was the same. What was the Miami game where there was a bullet thrown to the tight end ended up going to San Diego?
Julius Thomas?
No. The one that went
San Diego, Virgil Green.
And he caught it like in the 2-yard line, and they end up scoring late, and they barely beat Miami. I don't think it was that
might have
year,
been 2014, but
hey, no, listen, whatever. Trade Drew Lock. It is what it is. No, well, I'm seriously. We had Leggy on our show today, and all because I think they should have been in on Matt Stafford. It seems like they were. what Matt Stafford and Detroit got from Matt Stafford, just, you know, all of a sudden said, Denver ain't getting Watson.
No.
You know, I mean, and listen, I think Stafford's a better quarterback than maybe even people give him credit for. I think he's been in a bad, you know, we've made fun of Cleveland's franchise. I think you got to look at Detroit's franchise, and that's very similar. They share a lake, I believe.
They do.
Yeah, they share a lake.
Not bad.
Or close to. But I think it's a bad – I think he's a pretty good quarterback, but he's 32. And if Detroit's going to get what they got for him at 32, what's a 25-year-old quarterback that was one of the best quarterbacks in the league last year?
So here's the funny thing. Although,
by the way, Drew Lock beat him.
Fair enough. Okay. I'll say this, though. What I worry about is, I hate going against Leggy, right? And I know Leggy will tell you, and you guys, I heard you say it on your show today, you do need to have those young guys for cheap. You got to get cheap players.
You got to have cheap talent around.
Let's go back to 50.
Developing talent around established pros.
Derek Wolfe, Chris Harris, Danny Trevathan, Malik Jackson, all dudes that were on rookie contracts that help you win that sucker, right? They ain't getting paid.
Shaq Barrett,
but very good. Shaq Barrett. But I'm just saying, all dudes that contributed that weren't the high price guys because you got something right in the draft.
Right.
So that's why there is merit to what Bill Leggy's saying.
And he's a dumbass, but Shane Ray had a good, solid season that year as the backup guy, come in for 2 or 3 series, get out.
Yeah, well, they all forgot that, because I think, again, Ryan would tell you, they were playing as much for DeMarcus Ware as they were Peyton Manning, and that's not a shot at Manning. That's how much both guys meant to that locker room.
Well, and that thing I was telling you about a while ago, I watched, and DeMarcus telling the story, and he said there at the end, I found the trophy. It was just sitting there, so I put it in my locker. Peyton came over, and we looked at each other, and I said to him, I said, can you imagine 2 old, broken-down guys like this won this trophy? And he said, we hugged each other, and the trophy was between us. It was like a little baby. It was like a little baby in between us, and they were just hugging each other. Dude, I'm going to tell you what, and I love the Shanahan Denver Bronco teams, and I grew up a Bronco fan as that team. You remember when you were running the board and intern, I was still a Kansas City fan. I grew up. That was my team. Didn't know any better. In fact, I used to make fun of it, and then I started kind of the Raider hater because it was like, hey, all of us AFC West fans hate the Raiders. Yeah. I said, even us Chiefs fans. I said, let's unite against the Raiders, and that's because I was still a Chiefs. And then all of a sudden, start hanging out with Elway, and I'm playing in the golf tournament. I start doing interviews all the time. Now all of a sudden I get the color job. I'm there all, dude. And I told you when they let me go. Which was their fault, not mine, but whatever. That's water on the bridge. I decided that next year I'm gonna go back and be a Kansas City fan. Couldn't do it. And dude, I can show you my phone. I all my boys. I'm on a Vine with about 8 of my boys, and we all went to high school together. We did a high school trip. We still do a trip every summer together. Dude, it's all Kansas. I mean, in fact, I got a hat upstairs. I could go get it. That 2 days after the Super Bowl, I get a Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champs hat, right? they sent it to me. I'm still a giant Royals fan, right? But I couldn't go back. And I didn't, no matter what I did, I said, oh, yeah, F KOA and F those guys. I'm going to go back and be a Bronco or a Chiefs fan. Couldn't do it. And so I'm the lone guy with all my high school guys. One guy's a kind of a Dallas fan too, because in Kansas you grew up. You either got to watch the Dallas or the Chiefs or both. He took Dallas, although he still loves the Chiefs. Everyone else is Chiefs, and me, who started off as a Chief with them, but now all Bronco. And so now, I was high on the hog there for a whole bunch of years. Talking. Sheesh. Now, guess what Scott has to do? Stay quiet.
Ugh. Trust me, I know.
And you know me. I can talk some trash.
Yeah, well, believe me. By the way, the one time I felt the way that you did? I'm almost afraid to tell you. Because I went against the good old US of A. So I went out to Dick's Sporting Goods Park during the World Cup of lacrosse. Frankly, a lot of the U.S. players were kind of D-bags. and I knew all most of the Mammoth guys. Gary, the Gate brothers. Andy, how are you? Steve Govan. Andy, how are you? John Grant Jr. Andy, their goalie. Dylan Ward. Hey, how are you? So I was like, you know what?
F you, sir.
Yeah, you're going to turn me against God and country, but I guess we have to do
we
it.
We know how you voted this year, but anyway.
No, man, I felt bad. I was wearing this shirt, and Steve Govit's like, "You want me to get you Team Canada?" I was like, "Yeah, I kind of do." Pricks. There's one little attackman in particular. I won't say his name, but it's the first time I was like, back in the day, I'd have come down hell bent. I'd have run you over legal or not, you little There might have been a flag thrown, but it would have been worth it.
I'd have laid you out, my friend.
You know what I'm saying? Anyway, hey, let's get back to... Okay, so real quickly. So I want to get back to the story. I want you to be able to tell your story, because I don't think you know why I was joking about the phone call. So we'll get to that.
By the way, dummy, why did you call me when I was on the radio the other day?
Because you only pick up. Here's the thing.
But I answered it live on the air.
You
were on the air.
You only answer in breaks. And I will say in my defense, I got in the car. You were in the break. Now, for people that don't know, and I do know better, dude, we're like, because of all the technology, what you get in the car is like 45 seconds behind what's going on at the station.
Yeah.
So I was nervous. I was like, man, I hope this isn't another break. I'm going to give it a try, because I was going to ask you if you wanted to do this podcast yesterday. That's all I was going to ask you.
And I was going to, but I went and played golf.
But
we had a few cold beers on the course.
You picked up, you yelled at me, you hung up, and I get in my car. I start driving, and it's just now finishing the commercial break, and I still caught you picking up and
hanging up on you. So you got to hear what I said. So I had my headset on, had the microphone right there, and the phone right there. So yeah.
Well, that's why.
So then, by the way, did you get any calls when your show started yesterday?
Well, yeah, you guys were all calling me. The problem was, I was telling you, I cracked my computer screen somehow, and it was screwing things up. So I was trying to log on. I was gonna hang up on you on air, but I got so frustrated at not being able to. Because, I'm trying to watch the Twitch and get the text line up and get the Twitter on, and
you know what?
Nothing's
Can
working.
I say something? I do none of that. I watched. You see my iPad set up.
Oh, you were watching me?
No. I watched the iPad. No, because Springer got my Scott. Can you log off this right here? So Andy can't get on. So I have to log off. But no. But I watched that. I don't follow any of the messages.
Well, they appreciate it if you do.
Well, I would love to, but
and
guess
people
what?
People are actually, you know what?
I can show you the room where all the other computers are hanging out. It's called homeschooling and stuff. And so I have an iPad and a phone.
Well, I got that. My
phone the whole time I'm looking up stuff. I'm reading articles.
See, that's how I know you'll pick it up.
Yeah, well, exactly.
You're a lot better. If I wait to call you when you're done, that may not be near you, because you're good about not having to live by that.
And once the show's over, you got about 10-minute window. And I might play a video game or whatever, but then I lay down and take about a 30-minute nap, which today lasted 2 hours. I don't know how it happened, but it lasted 2 hours.
Ain't nothing better than all day sleeping.
But no, I do the iPad, and then I got daughter's got 2 computers going, and she's got all of her classes going, and still, if the warden today went and played golf, it's like I'll give you a time. It's like 11:05. Dad, how much longer you got for your show? I go, well, I have a break in 10 minutes. I can't log on. First of all, words you thought you'd never hear from a 6th grader's mouth.
I know.
Dad, I can't log on.
I know.
And I'm like, you're 6. What do you mean? Go play with the doll. I mean, go throw football.
I heard that segment. I think I got out of work, and they asked you for an answer, and I think Josh goes, he's trying to help Ellie with something.
Dude, I'm telling you, I had to go. She couldn't log on, but to the computer, I go, Dad, I got it now. You just got to log this. You got to hit. It's 1, 2, 3, X, Y, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how do you know this?
Oh, they're ready to go.
Well, it's kind of cool until the EMP hits, and then all of a sudden we're back to Stone Age and Flint's, and let's see if she can skin a cat to eat.
We've had some weird stuff going on in our neighborhood tonight. Lost the Wi-Fi. So anyway, you called me beginning to show you. So here's the deal. So off Jeff Brydich's, we'll just get to the phone call. Off Jeff Brydich's, because I wanted to see if you were even listening, because I figured if I said it, you'd text me, but you didn't text me. But so we get to Jeff Brydich's People Change. People change. And Nate and I were making fun of it, so I decided to make fun. I go, yeah. Scotty used to get to yell at me.
I heard you.
I
No,
yell back at Scotty. Things change.
I was driving down to one of my 4 COVID tests.
So you're in a good mood.
So I was in. You son of a bitch! Really. I never called you and cussed you out. If anything, I called you and we were cussing out other people.
Let me tell you this. You want to know how my mornings would go? I'll tell you from my end. Because Scotty, and I used to tell, but there were a lot of things like, again, and in fairness,
first of all, tell me this. If we did, and it's probably roughly right, 500 shows together, which is probably...
Yeah, we did about 3 or 4 years together.
Yeah, probably more than that. But 1,000 shows together. Say we did 1,000 shows together. How many lunches did we have during
a million. No, but
I mean, if 1,000 shows, do we have lunch, 900 times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I loved you. Don't get me... You taught me everything, really. People will hear... I always thought it was funny because people used to say, hey, Mark Schlereth hijacked your personality. And I used to say, well, I stole it from Scotty. So really, you got to go back and see. There's a tree to all this stuff. I
have a coach's tree.
You do, but see, the thing that I had to learn, and you know what, for the young guys listening, and hopefully if you're in your 40s, you can attest to it.
Josh,
I thought you wanted me to just simply be like a yes man. Like, you know what,
no.
It was funny because I thought to myself, it's the circle of life. Because I was doing the show with Romy and Ed wouldn't pick up most of the time. So it would be me and Romy. And Romy, Romy's a millennial. She ain't used to talking on the phone anyway. And I remember one day...
How are their voices coming out of this?
She just wants to text. I remember one day I called her, and I don't even remember where I was going, but I was so frustrated with her because I was asking her, what'd you do this weekend? And again, just looking for... Did you do something that spurs a thought in my mind? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I had a boring
story.
Weekend. Yes,
a story. Give me a story for the show.
Something that we could take.
Yes.
And she's like, "Why are you giving me the 20 questions? I didn't do anything." It's like, just tell me what you did. Why is this? And I thought, you know what? Scotty and I swear had a fight just like this one day, and then it's like I think it clicked on for her. Okay, he doesn't even care this much about what he's asking me. He needs me. He's going to take something.
It's all material
and make it part of a show for a slow moment or whatever.
Absolutely.
But see, I didn't get it. I've told people when I could finally tell you. There was one time where I think I never stood up to you, and you were being grumpy one day, and I said, "Are you going to get out of your mood? Are you going to get out of your mood, or are you still being a little and we're going to just have a bad show?" And I remember you got kind of mad at me, but we had a good show.
We had a good show, didn't we?
But you know how it is. Like, people don't.
But you know what? It's funny you said the yes man thing because I coached high school for a couple of years, and I would sit down with all my coaches and freshman, sophomore, JV, my assistant. I wanted them with me on the bench during varsity games if they could make it. I know there was some multiple games we'd play here and they'd be playing there sometimes. But I said, I want you to give me 1,000 things. I said, I don't care. I said, I may tell you no 99 times.
And I heard that a lot.
I said, and I told you that. I said, but that 100th time might be a home run to win us a game. And it's the same thing in thing. I don't want guys to go. In fact, I can't stand producers sit back and go. And then here's the thing, and this is my fault. And this part, and I've had therapy on this, and I need to be better at this, and I still struggle with this. When I say, "Hey, I'd like it to do. We ought to try this. I think it's to be good." In my head, do that.
Right. I've told you politely what I want.
Do this, and then it doesn't get done, which happens all the time now. And I'm like, so now I get really. I give you fucking golden nuggets, and you give me okay. That's a great idea, and it doesn't happen. Boy, that right there. I'm sorry for cursing.
Yeah, for all you younger producers.
That's my first F word on the program.
Yeah, I know. We've been trying. You know what? YouTube took one of our I got to notice one of our episodes. It's up because it's on my YouTube channel. They decided it was graphic content or something. I'm like, what do we do?
One show you were cursing. I don't like to curse in public.
In public, on the record.
On the record.
But anyway, we'd have these calls. It'd be funny because sometimes, and people don't get it. I can remember, I'd start stressing. Football season's easy, right? Because in this town, football is, you're going to talk football. There's a rhythm to things.
It's how the fans have fooled the public.
Right. But in the regular now, and what was hard was what I loved about the zoo, but made it hard, especially when you and I are little. Dave kept it steeped in some sports, which was fine. I mean, again,
that's a good balance.
I will admit to God, you know what? I got to say this. My new phrase is God and country. For God and country. I was watching Zero Dark 30 about a week ago, and when he gets Bin Laden, he goes, "For God and country." So, you know what I mean? Basically, he's dead, and they're not saying it over the radio because they don't want anybody in case they're being monitored. But I just remember he goes, "For God and country," and I thought, damn right, this son of a bitch has got a bullet in his head. Anyway, see now, here we go.
I follow him on Twitter.
So everything is for God and country. But I'm just telling you, I didn't appreciate enough at the time the balance you and Dave had. You need the balance because, and I hope Nate's brought that to me. This is really getting way off in the weeds, but you need guys like you and I let's be honest, man, it stinks right there. We would goof around till the cows. It'd be like a comedy show. Yeah. But Dave was always good about keeping it steeped in reality.
Yeah.
But we grew it to the point where anything was on the table. That show was not a sports show, and people don't seem to understand it when I try to explain it. To me, it was guy talk, and it's what I loved. It was water cooler. It was what we were about.
We had a great program director at the time who's now basically programming one of the biggest sports.
He's in charge of Fox Sports Radio.
Yeah, and the biggest sports show in L.A. or sports radio. But he always told us he wanted us to be the Johnny Carr show. He wanted us to be the Tonight Show. Hit the main topics, be hard on that, get all what everybody's talking about, cover that, but then have fun. People don't watch that just because you have news and notes. They watch that because they're entertained. And we did a commercial one time, and we were KOA, which was a stodgy, and they've lost their way. And I'll be real honest with you. I could help KOA right now because they've lost their way. I'd go back to the old Don Martin theory. Bring them all the news of the morning, and you better hit that hard, and everybody driving in wants to know what the world's doing. But on the home after the drive home,
broken them,
and on the drive home, as you've had the world break you, and we've all been broken this past year. You better have some place that's a respite. That's a respite that you can laugh, and I still fight that, and you get a lot of guys that don't agree with it, and that is what it is, and not everybody's humor is the same. I understand that. But guess what? Everybody understands right now who has a kid at home and they start talking computer talk to you and you're like, how the hell are you doing that at 6?
Yeah.
Everybody can relate to that. Everybody can relate to I got a cool thing going on with my daughter right now. It really is cool. For dad, you're a dad. We do this thing every night. We do a hug. I hug real hard, then she hugs real hard. And then we hug real hard together, and she goes, who won? Because I told her, you've got kid strength. And she goes, what do you got? I go, I got dad strength. And so we do that. We compete. So we're squeezing every day. She's trying to squeeze the heck out of me. Drops one. Her and I, it is my 6-year-old little daughter. Her and I are on the floor rolling because it was purely unintentional. But you know what? That's a funny story. And there's not a dad or a mom that can't relate to that.
Well, let's be honest about it. How much, first off, I'll say this, and I think I got it from you, but you need a laugh, At the end of the day, like a good comedy bit, whether it was No Cure for Cancer from Dennis Leary or Chris Rock. I can't remember what his disc was, but man, Chris Rock to me is so funny. But any of those stand-up comics, we go back to Eddie Murphy back in the day, right? Or Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy Delirious.
Purple suit, purple leather suit.
Yeah, man. It just, a laugh takes you out of a bad place. And so to me...
And we need that now more than ever.
I would much rather you come up and tell me you remember something funny than some astute sports point that I gave to you that, let's be honest, you can probably get on.
And listen, we got a lot of people.
The atom in the sports world.
We got a lot of people that want that hardcore sports,
I love talking
and
sports,
that's why they listen to the fan. I mean, they give you some really hardcore X and O, and good on them.
Well, yeah, and you got a lineup full of experts. There's no doubt. We're not arguing.
But after about 9 o'clock, it ain't very, very entertaining.
Well, yeah, I'll just say this, man. You know what? I hope if I can, because how many times I think you and I have talked about it. You know what warms my heart is when someone just says, I had to pull over because I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
You know, or I was in a bad place and you made it better for me. Well, that's what I'm here to do.
But that was that commercial. We give you all the news to start your day, and we'll bring you home laughing.
And even then, we made a joke because we were given what we figure out 2.3 seconds. So we tried to figure out everything you could do in 2.3 seconds because it was just you and Dave.
Yeah, our commercial spot was 2.3 seconds. What can you do in 2.3 seconds? Well, Dave, your ex-wives have told us that. But anyway,
So anyway, well, that was a long way. Who you got in the game this weekend?
What game? Avs play Sunday. By the
big
way,
game.
How about this? How about the Avs' fourth game with Minnesota canceled?
Yeah, I'm worried.
What are you worried about?
They spent 3 nights together. I just hope this doesn't, whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, the Pistons Nuggets.
Hey.
Some guy tests positive, so they take all the 6 dudes that are around him. They don't have enough guys to play, cancel the game. Oh, it was a false positive. So there's precaution, which I said this on the radio, and the Avs too. Before you cancel games, because the Avs game's Thursday, they canceled a game Wednesday at like 5. Why not wait and give another test or two to this guy? What if it's a false positive? What if you don't need to, cancel this game?
Ask the Pac-12 about that.
Well, and it's the same thing with the Detroit. Guess what they did? They played the next night in Utah, because guess what? It was a false positive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you screwed up the schedule.
How long
and listen, I'm all in for being safe and stuff. Be safe.
I'm with you.
And
false positives are going to happen. We've learned
yes.
that.
Hey, and since we've done this, and I know you're more of a hockey guy, I'm more of a basketball guy. That's cool, whatever. And McKinnon out. And I explained this today. I want you to help me with this, too.
So angry.
You got 2 of the greatest stars in their leagues, Nathan McKinnon and Nikola Jokic.
You do.
I'm talking. You got top 5 dude in your 2 sports. Everybody goes, well, I'm so sick of the hockey sitting there just saying lower body injury, and he's week to week, which is scary. When they say day to day, okay, week to week, a little more serious. But I go, you know why they did that? Because we just had Jeremy Roenick on like the day before, who played back in the meat of hockey when you're
pissed off Patrick Waugh. Told him I can't hear you with my 2 Stanley Cup rings in my ears.
And you're gonna fight, and it's gonna be ugly, right? That's because if you just said, "Hey, he's got a deep thigh bruise," guess what? Every player who plays against him is going to do for the next 20 games. Pound his thigh.
You're right.
And
now, I would like to know what's going on when it's something that's more than week to week, but I get it. You're right.
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean that's why, and I use, and you probably didn't even see. Well, you might have seen it, but do you remember the old? And they've remade the movie. It was so good they remade the movie. It was actually, I don't even know if people know this. Was the book was written by a guy who became a professor at the University of Arkansas. Rollerball. In the original Rollerball with James Caan, there was a big scene before they were playing like the semifinals in the World Championships, right? Instead of wars, they had rollerball. That's the premise of the movie. It's the future. And they're going to Japan. Nakamura, broken wrist, Smith, broken elbow. And the American team's going over every injury that the Japanese guys had. It shows, hey, he had a hip replacement. He hit that hip every time. That's why hockey goes lower body, upper body. They don't tell you what it is because back in the day, if you knew a dude had a broken arm and he's come back from a broken fibula or whatever's in the arm, guess what they're doing? Frickin' slapping it.
Yeah.
And I remember, and this was 89 or 90, I'm in the locker room getting my legs, ankles taped, which I wonder how much tape I wasted in my life. Talk about living green. There's so much tape wasted on taping my ankles. But I'm in there getting my ankles taped, and Bill Lambert comes in, and somebody who were playing that night is coming back from a broken wrist. Mike, that was our trainer. What wrist did Andy Lindahl have broken? It was right, Bill. Good. Dude,
noted.
You knew the first time he came to the basket, he was going to slap the hell out that wrist to see if it's still healthy.
You really want to be out here? That's the question.
But anyway, for hockey, that's why lower body, upper body, to try to keep some mystique. But that being said, Nathan McKinnon, Nikola Jokic, does Avs and Nuggets fans understand you have two of the top 10 players in their leagues playing in your city?
I do think they get it with Nikola because
I feel just the opposite. I think they get it with McKinnon.
I think. I don't know. I hope they do. I hope we can appreciate what we've got going on here. What you know what's funny today? I kind of got Nate all fired up. People are getting on me because Nate was like, "Are you happy yet with the Avs?" And I'm not saying I'm displeased, but who the Avs played that they shouldn't have whooped up on?
Right.
Minnesota's not very good. The Ducks aren't very good. The Kings aren't very good.
Similar record though.
Okay. I'm just telling you. I think the Avs should be on a nice winning streak. The Blues have been the toughest match. It's not like you're facing the Stars. It's not like you've had to play Tampa Bay yet. You should be whooping some of these teams. LA's trying to figure out what they're even doing with their cap. They want Kopitar gone. They want to get rid of quick. They got all these bad contracts. You know, they're the salary cap gone wrong. You know what I'm saying? The Ducks, dude, I told you, if the Ducks Gibson's going to be saving everything, then go find someone with a big old backside and put his butt in front of the net so he can't see the shots. I just feel like Avs fans, and maybe you feel this way about the Nuggets fans. I said this today, dude. Avs fans, go ahead. Let's talk expectations. Let's be a little upset if the win isn't what you thought. The Broncos, remember, was it 2013? They didn't whoop the Jaguars by as many as everybody thought, so people were upset. They won the game. But they didn't get the whooping that they thought they were going to get. What's wrong with feeling that way about the Avs? They're a good team. They can handle it. What's wrong with giving these teams some expectations? Why is this town afraid to put expectations on these two teams? They're the best two to handle it. Yeah. Rockies don't have it. Broncos don't have it. Am I wrong?
Your best chance to win a championship are the Avalanche and the Nuggets.
Yes.
And can I say something? Things have to fall right, but guess what? Both teams' best of all the teams to win a championship is this year. And I don't think the Nuggets are built yet. I don't think mentality-wise they have it yet. And that starts with Jamal Murray, to be honest with you. But talent-wise, those are your two best chances.
Hey, I don't know how much more the Avs can load on in the salary cap era. You got to go get it done. Grubauer's playing great. I said this today, man. You better keep people the hell out of the crease. I need to see a little more physical, man. I need to see someone get a little
better keep Grubauer healthy.
Yeah, so quit having guys falling in the crease. Yeah. You see how much traffic he was tracking pucks through last night?
No, I don't have the games.
Well, I do.
Well, I didn't get an invitation.
It's an open invitation any night.
I would love to come watch it.
By the way, we'll have to come over and watch it in 4K. Both the Avs and the Nuggets.
You said it looks good.
Oh, it looks good. Now, I will say the lighting's a little different. You got to get used to that because it looks like the natural light. There's not the TV filter that brightens everything. It's like I'm sitting at Ball Arena under the natural lighting of that.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Real fast, we'll let you go. Nathan McKinnon, top 5 player in the NHL?
I think he's the best.
Cale Makar, top 5 defenseman in the NHL? Is he a top 15 player in the NHL?
Probably.
Close. And now, saying all that, with Nathan McKinnon out, Mikko Rantanen can't go a game and has 2 shots on goal.
No, you're right. Well, look, here's what I worry about them, and people mistake it. Like, people are like, why are you being so hard on them? And
that's another thing, too. Quit being so freaking soft. Because, as Andy just said, that we have expectations on your team. Do you understand what freaking expectations mean? That means they got a chance to win a championship. You know who don't win championships? Soft teams. Yeah. Soft teams don't win championships. So if we're sitting there saying, yeah, that was good but not good enough, don't go, oh, you're just a hater. No, you're a
right.
Rhymes with something that's not good. Yeah.
Dude,
relax, man. Come on.
It's like I said.
Do you want to win a championship, or do you want to sit there and just be a good team and be, wait till next year?
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to write us and talk about these teams the way we talk about the Broncos, this is how we talk about the Broncos.
You know the worst thing that happened? Manscaping.
Well,
because I think while they were cutting off the hair, they cut off some other things.
There might have been. Now, it also leaves you free and breezy.
Oh, I know. I love it. I like to live there.
All I'm trying to say is, we'll get back. You know what? We'll get into it more as we go along.
Yeah.
It's not hating when you're simply asking for a higher level of performance. Because I'll tell you this.
I go back to Joel Dreesen. We used to have in studio every year on the year they lost Super Bowl 48. And they had a great year. They were 14-2 or something like that. And I asked him, "What do you mean?" Because I'm critical. I feel my job as an analyst is to be critical, not to sit there and go, "They're the greatest team since sliced the bread." I'm going to tell you, they won by 20, but let me tell you what they could do better. They can get better. And Joel Dreesen confirmed that with me. He goes, "The time you need to be critical is when your team's winning." So to me, that translates to when your team's an expected championship caliber team, it's time to be critical. When they're winning by 10 and should win by 20, when they're winning by 2 goals and should win by 8, or when they win 2-1, and those are good games are going to happen, they should have been 4-1. When they won the other night 4-2, and they hit 5 posts. Come on now.
Well, and look, should you at the end of the day, should you be squeaking out Anaheim with a 2-1 victory? Should you be finding a way to lose that game because again you're hitting posts and some guy. When I tell you that they're aiming at the net, so they're professional hockey players, that's what they're paid to do. No, man, it means the goalies are looking big. It means you're not just thinking and being smooth with things. I get it. Every guy aims at a spot. But when you're trying to be so fine, it's hitting those kind of pipes, it means he's in your head. You're not hitting your
You're
spot.
giving him a little bit too much credit.
Not
right?
What? Yeah.
You're giving him a little bit too much credit.
Yeah,
you're giving him another. And hey, listen, there was an old line in the Patriot that I always tell my kids when I coach basketball: aim small, miss small. They ain't aiming for the post, but they might be aiming for that corner. Aim for the shoulder.
Yeah. Well, how did 5 shots and hit that crossbar? You're trying to get that shoulder and it's not there. Pick another spot, man. And you know what? You won't have to worry about it if you put a guy in front. How many times have you seen the guy stick his big old butt in the crease, tip it home?
With this team, not very many.
Well, that may have to change.
Can I say something? The greatest player in Avs history to do that, in my opinion, Mike Ricci.
Good old toothless.
Let me give you one from, I believe, for Detroit. How about Dino Ciccarelli?
Yeah.
How big was he, though?
Ciccarelli, yeah.
He wasn't the biggest guy in the world,
right.
But, dude, he was a pest in front of the goal, wasn't he?
What about that Mulpey cat? Remember Mulpey?
Yep.
All right. Forgotten country.
Give me Mike Ricci.
Well, give me the modern version.
Could you ever believe, by the way, and I know you got to get a break, can you believe that Mike Ricci was one of the most sought-after, good-looking dudes in Colorado when he played? All the ladies loved the long hair, and he had no front teeth.
Ladies love the gums.
Well,
yeah.
Wharton. Never mind.
Good day.